Welcome to all you wisdom walkers out there. Thank you for watching another segment of Wisdom Walk to Self Mastery. I am about 3 minutes away from the actual start of the broadcast because I'm not only doing YouTube Live, but I'm also doing Blog Talk Radio through Black Hole Radio. And they're playing my intro music right now, which I am still figuring out how I can also have that happen here. But in the meantime, just want to say that I did not broadcast last week. I was away and doing some work, and it was really good. It was a good time. It was about 10 days that I was away. And I am very grateful that everything went well and that I'm back to do this YouTube Live for you. Before I left in my last broadcast, I talked about what an excruciatingly challenging week it had been, and it was a fire week. And since then, I feel things have really kind of settled down, although people are still, that I know of, getting bad news, or a niece that lost the keys to her car out in a park, had to leave her car parked at the park overnight with the window a little bit down, so then she had to tape it up. I mean, just crazy kind of stuff like that. So there's still like some hiccups going on, some bumps. We're still being brought some challenges, but it doesn't feel in the same way that it did before. It doesn't feel that such heaviness. It's almost like it comes, but we kind of can feel like, oh, okay, I can move through this. I can move through this. So it may be that we're entering into a time where we're more able to remember that we can get the support that we need. We can get the help that we need. And also that willingness to open up to what is the treasure in this trouble that has come to me. So things are kind of smoothing out. Mercury retrograde did end. So I think we're kind of all grateful for that. Although it promised to be about healing, and it certainly was. I know for me personally. So my theme song, Nikalela, Stevie Wonder, from his Songs in a Key of Life, is coming to a close. And I am going to be able to get us started in just a moment or two here. So thank you for your patience. And I really have a wonderful ending to my theme this month of self-renewal, where I'll talk about life renewal, that after we've done the mind, body, spirit, that now we can focus on life. So the music has stopped, and I'm going to do an official beginning. Good evening, and welcome to Wisdom Walk here on Black Hole Radio and also on YouTube Live. I am your host and guide, Jojopahmaria Nsoroma. And March has been the first of two fire months that we have. March has been the first of two nature months. I keep wanting it to be fire, but it's nature. In this mineral year of clarity, confidence, and courage. It's a month that has been full of opportunity to renew ourselves because it holds that transition between the seasons that we call the equinox, spring in the northern hemisphere and fall in the southern hemisphere. Also, the Christian Lenten season has begun and is continuing, and it will until Easter, which is on April the 21st. And it is that celebration of resurrection that is looked forward to. So my 4 broadcasts this month have been exploring the renewal of self, body, mind, and spirit. And tonight I'll be sharing wisdom and insights on life renewal, renewing our understanding and acceptance of the nature of change, experienced so that we can experience our lifetime not as a victim or failure, but as a victor and as a winner. Now, for those of you who may be looking or listening in for the first time, let me give you a brief overview of Wisdom Walk. It is a personal development resource for your mind, body, and soul. My ministry is any pain that is not transformed will be transferred. So, the primary goal of my shows is to support you in learning how to recognize and release any pain that is blocking you from fulfillment in life, or what I like to call having your happy endings in life. Every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern or 5 p.m. Pacific, I broadcast live on both Black Hole Radio and YouTube Live, unless I'm on hiatus, like last week. If for some reason you can't access the internet to listen or watch, you may listen to this live radio broadcast and or call into the show at this number. It is area code 563-999-3089. Again, that's 563-999-3089. Also, the web link that I provide for the radio broadcast, which you might get on my Facebook page or through a constant contact email, that serves as an archive link once I have finished broadcasting live. And of course, for YouTube channel, as soon as I'm done, it'll be up there and you'll be able to access that at any time that you so desire, just like the archive link. But for right now, I invite you to sit or lay back and join me for an exploration of the inner landscape where we can connect to our souls and discover the true treasure of being human. Now, every week on the show, I always like to start off by honoring the ancestors. These are the people whose shoulders we're standing upon, the people to whom we're beholden to for who and what we are today. And so this month has been Women's History Month, and it's an important time to take time to really acknowledge and remember the women throughout history and just women in general, and pay some homage and some tribute to. Women have been some of the most oppressed and abused people on this planet, along with children and old people, or people who have been physically challenged in some way or another, or mentally challenged as well. And so it's really important, especially in the times we're living in, to consciously take out time to acknowledge and to work on repairing that breach that we have from history. And so tonight, I wanted to take a moment to have us just think about the survivor females, the survivor women who are your ancestors, because you wouldn't be here if there weren't women who survived, and whether that was some form of sexual abuse, whether it was a form of domestic violence, whether it was a form of oppression in their community, in their job, whether it was just being treated like a second-class citizen simply because they were a woman. Whatever the deal, it's so important to remember that and to know that. And to know that these women found a way, despite whatever hardships, challenges, racism, sexism was thrown at them, they found a way to keep going, to have a family, to contribute to their community in some way, shape, or form. So just think about that. Think about the women, the ancestor women in your family. It could be, again, not blood related, but people that you knew of, or people that your family knew of. And let's just take a moment to say their names aloud, and then I'm going to do this prayer. And for me, it's every woman in my family, from me going back in terms of women survivors. Creator, Mother, Father, God, Source, all the one, all that is. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your blessing and your mercy in our lives, and for yet another opportunity to remember to remember the women in our family, the women ancestors, the women in our neighborhoods, the women in our community, the women in the world who have survived pain and torture and trauma and rape and drama and starving and all kinds of very, very, inhuman things. We are so grateful to take this moment to call out to them and ask them for their love, their guidance, their wisdom, because where they are now, those things that occurred in this life are no longer trouble for them. But we here in this present, in this modern world, continue to struggle with how do we treat women? How do we respect them? How do we love them and hold them in high regard as give them their full citizenship in this global community. And so we need their help and we need their wisdom to help us make good choices, to take the right kinds of risk, to be advocates for equality, and to love. And so, Creator, we're calling on our female ancestors and ancestors. We're so grateful to you. And we need your help. We need your guidance. We need your wisdom. So show up for us, even when we don't call. Show up for us and guide us and help us as we, as a species, move forward into creating a world where everyone knows and is treated as though they are divine. And again, Creator, I thank you for the blessing of the women in the name of all that is holy. Amen. Asher Ho'asa Shinga Bismillah, and so it is. All right. Good to kick off with women ancestors. Boy, do we need that. So I'm going to speed through our wisdom elementally and astrologically, although it's been such a potent month in March, especially astrologically, that I have taken time and more time than I normally would, but I think it was really important because again, there's been a lot of stuff going on. People have been meeting with a lot of challenges, some of them very surprising or some of them kind of expected, but when it actually happens, you're still like, wow. So I think when we have an awareness that there are energies that affect us, that are around us, that are moving us, and a lot of times in ways we can't even imagine. I think it helps us not stay in a victim consciousness around what's happening in our life. And we can remember that we have a choice. We always have a choice, especially adults. We always have a choice to not feel defeated, but to open up to getting the support we need so that we can move forward with whatever the challenge is. So elementally this week, and here we are on the last day of March, we're going to be moving into April tomorrow. So on Tuesday, which is the first day of the elemental week, on the 2nd of April, we move into a fire week. And the opportunity is all about truth, being truthful with yourself and others. It's also a reminder to call upon the ancestors to bring you to clarity when you're feeling confused and conflicted. It's about walking your talk, living in self-referred consciousness, trusting your intuition and honest feelings more than the opinions, advice, or judgments of others. It's about allowing your inner authentic self to be in charge of your life versus the image of yourself that you project onto the world. As Mr. Rogers said, people can love you no matter what you look like, what you sound like. They can love you exactly the way that you are. So the distractions for this week would be trying to maintain the status quo, trying to be what you think is normal, rather than claiming your own normality, abandoning your true self in order to please others or avoid conflict, lying to yourself and others, never a good idea. Sacrificing your needs in order to belong or to be included or to solve your loneliness. Sometimes we do that. Never ends happy. And last but not least, the fear of not being liked, loved, or accepted. Don't go out of yourself for those things. Go in, go in and learn how to like, love, and accept yourself first. Then people can show up who can support you in that. Next Tuesday will be April the 10th, and we'll enter into an Earth Week. And of course, I'll share the wisdom for that with you in next week's broadcast. Now, we've got some astrological stuff here that occurred after I had gone on my hiatus. So I'm going to kind of do a little backflip with you to just cover some of what happened, starting with the equinox on the 20th, and kind of catch you up to date for today, and then what's coming with the new moon on April 5th. So again, and I'll get through this pretty quickly. But on March 20th, that was the equinox. And the message is that, and again, it started this is the sun's beginning around the astrological calendar. So Aries begins the new zodiac progression. So it goes from Aries to Pisces. And so no matter where you lived on Earth, that day was equal day and night. And the message from that is that it's the perfect equilibrium that allows new life to be created, that allows creation to set forth its marvels. So the spring isn't just that change in the seasons, but it actually opens up a portal for more creative energy. Now, around the same time, on that same day of the equinox, there was a conjunction with the sign of Chiron. And Chiron has played really big in March because he really moved out of his old sign of Pisces, thank God, and he moved into Aries. And Chiron is the wounded healer. I talked about that in the first broadcast I did this month. But the big message here about Chiron going into Aries is that it gives us this opportunity, like a real opportunity, to restore our wholeness. Okay. Now, this is not an easy journey by any means, but it will be totally, totally worth it. So here's the warning. Deep healing, fundamental change is on the horizon. And it's very reminiscent to me of 11 years ago in 2008. That was, oh my God, what a shift year for me. So much happened to me personally. In fact, it was in 2008 when I decided to shave my head. So it was really a very fundamental change. Like I really became very conscious of, oh, I got to let go. I got to let go of what I thought, what I knew, what I thought I had, what I thought it was going to be about, let it all go. And so it's that kind of energy that is going on for us. And, it's just like time to clean house, like time to really shift around. So that energy is going on, which of course is contributing to people's challenges that are showing up. Because of course we don't like to let go. Of course we don't. I had gotten spirit messages for 2 years, like starting in 2006, that I needed to shave my head. And I was like, oh no, like, I'm not shaving my dreadlocks off. I had them going down my back. It's like, no way. And then something happened and I was like, oh yeah, I got to shave my head, So it's that kind of thing that's going on. So just be aware of that. To resist is futile. That's all I can say. Just open up to Chiron, doing its thing to bring you wholeness, Now, on the 22nd, you had the sun conjuncting with Chiron. And this was about fully embracing ourselves and our true purpose in life so that we can transcend the wound of our existence and become whole. So again, just another layer, another, if you can say, another serving, if you will, of this energy to really get us to shift into what it is we need to be for what is coming and what is here in our lives. So And this information I'm giving you is from astrobutterfly.com. I forget the name of this astrologer, but I really like her interpretations. She says that once you've accepted yourself, once you walk on the path of your destiny, wholeness is restored and healing is instantaneous. I attest to that. I attest to that. This is very, very true. So again, we've had the equinox on the 20th, along with Chiron conjuncting with the equinox, and then 2 days later, Chiron's conjuncting with the sun, like just this lineup of like, ooh, you will change. Then 2 days later, on the 24th, you have Mercury, who's retrograde at this time, conjuncting with Neptune. The big message in that is that we were open to the infinite possibilities of our existence. So, what this means is where you may have been shut down in thinking about something or a dream that you have, or a relationship that you've been holding that hasn't manifested, whatever. It's like this day, boom, a door open, or something you had been trying to achieve, something you wanted to experience or have or do. It's like a doorway opened up so that that could be possible. Now, for some of us, it may not have materialized yet, but for many of us, the message came down. Get ready. It's going to happen. It's coming. So a very, very, very powerful day. And this is unusual because usually when Mercury is retrograde, right, it's like, don't sign this, don't go that. You're going to have communication breaking down. Your travel's going to be screwed up. It's usually that kind of thing. But this Mercury retrograde was very different. It was, yes, respect that things could be happening, but it wasn't in the same arresting way. It's like there was awareness that, yes, we're paused, but there's still a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. Then another 2 days later, everything's in these twos, on March 26th, Venus moved into Pisces. This is a very, very good thing because Venus, when it's in Pisces, is exalted. That means she's able to really be at her best. And with Venus in Pisces, beauty becomes art, love becomes compassion, and universal values transcend personal concerns. So again, that energy of love, the pure love of the universe, really pushing in. And that was on the 26th. Now, on the 28th, 2 days later, Mercury went direct. And so, of course, this really opened us back up to, oh, okay, time to begin to move forward. And the questions to ask yourself are, what did you learn for those 3 weeks that Mercury was retrograde? What messages did you receive? Did you have any particular dreams? And then how can you integrate those insights into your everyday life? So when Mercury retrograde ends, it's really a good time to do a little contemplation about, okay, what did I just learn? What did you just learn, Dorothy? What's going on? And then that brings us to today. And 3 days later, we have Mars in Gemini. And the big message about this, because Mars is a fire sign, Gemini is an air sign, in the coming 6 weeks, even though you may have some challenges, mentally you're going to be able to solve them. You're going to be able to think your way through them. Her message is the best way to make use of this energy is to win out on the intellectual front. In the coming 6 weeks, tackle those things you tend to procrastinate, like your taxes. Take that exam, have that difficult conversation. So really, really good stuff. And that's what is happening for today. Now, on Wednesday, the 5th, is that right? No, Friday. On Friday, the 5th, we have a new moon in the sign of Aries. And of course, new moons are about new beginnings. So if you haven't felt that, we've come to an end of this last cycle, that Mercury retrograde, that you got some more gifts again, that you're being pushed toward wholeness. There are healing opportunities coming for you. So when Friday rolls around, you'll be in a position to really be able to say, yes, I'm ready to start anew, ready to start a new cycle, so that I can get to the next moment. So there you have it. I'm at 25 minutes past the hour, but that's good because I didn't go past the 30 and I was hoping not to. So now let's jump into tonight's program. Let's jump into this information. Quick overview of what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do a review for you of self-renewal, mind, body, spirit, of course, mind and emotion combined. And then we'll talk about life renewal because it's natural. And I want to share with you, though, why it is that we block being able to believe that, accept that, and to move with that. And then, of course, I'll give you a personal challenge. So, my quote that I used in the announcement for the broadcast and the YouTube tonight says, in the end, these three things matter most. How well did you love? How fully did you live? How deeply did you let go? The Buddha. Yeah, all my quotes this month came from the Buddha. So let's start with the importance of renewal again. Why is this important? Why should we be taking time to even think about renewal? And the first reason is because there is no I'm done. Okay. There's no I've made it. I made it to the mountaintop. Now I have nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. No, it's like you are never done. You're just never done. And so this renewal is our way to be able to accept and go with that fact that we're never done. If you don't believe that you can renew and you don't take out the time to consciously renew, then you can really feel the consequences of being stuck, and it's not ever good. We are here as human beings to grow, to heal, and to evolve. If you want to know what is really your highest purpose, your basic purpose for being in this dimension, for being in this human existence, again, it's to grow, it's to heal, and it's to evolve. Very simple and, of course, very challenging. Everything can be improved, and sometimes I think we forget that. Sometimes I think there really is perfection. We get pushed towards that a lot, especially in modern society. It's really interesting, but the reality is there is no perfection now. But there's nothing wrong with trying for it, but don't ever convince yourself that it's there. The story of this universe that we dwell in is that out of a void came all the necessary gases, atoms, bosons, and elementary materials through which we can experience our three-dimensional lives. It all came out of this void. It came out of a nothingness, right? There was a time when we used to, as human beings, sit in a coliseum and watch two people fight to death, or watch wild animals tear them apart from limb to limb, right? And now we just watch football and Game of Thrones. So basically, the point I'm making here is that it is very, very natural for us to grow and to evolve away from fear and violence and into love, compassion for ourselves and for others. The universe we are part of. And so we came out of that void. We evolved out of that void. And so it's just natural. It's just natural that we should be renewing ourselves. To go a little deeper, I believe self-renewal is an expression of self-love. A lot of times when people say, love yourself, I know for me too, when I was starting out on my road of higher consciousness, I really couldn't understand what that meant because I thought I was loving myself. And so, what do you mean love yourself? Well, it's a little more complex than, I like what I'm wearing or I like how my face looks. It really has to do with what am I doing that expresses that love. And so self-renewal is a huge expression of self-love. It's it's you demonstrating your willingness to consciously participate in this cosmic law of becoming the best version of yourself, and you do that when you consciously self renew mind, body, and spirit. So, very important to take on self renewal and from a very conscious place. We all know people in our lives, and we've also experienced it in our lives, where it seems like they never change or we never change, that we're the same. But that really isn't true. We're always changing. And I don't care if you live in the same town, in the same house, you're wearing the same kind of clothes. There is change that is going on, but you can close yourself down to that. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But let me jump on to the three ways I was talking about self renewal can show up, and that is mind, body, and spirit. And I began with spirit. And spiritual renewal is basically a resetting of your commitment as to why you chose to be on your spiritual journey in the first place. It's basically taking a deeper walk with your God, not to be self-righteous. See, this is really important. This is not, I want to get closer to God so I can be like I'm better than somebody, or I'm real, God loves me the best. It's not about that. It's really about freeing yourself from the negativity and fear of your past and that of your ancestors. Okay? So that's why you want to take a deeper walk with your God, get closer, deeper in that relationship and that understanding. As Deepak Chopra talked about, we can go from a simple survival to a God consciousness. And that's really, really important. So that's a spiritual renewal in a nutshell. And in terms of mental and emotional renewal, I first talked about this holy trinity of our existence, that mind, body, and spirit, that the father, mother would equal your spirit, your soul, the divinity within. The son, daughter is your body, your physicality, what provides your three-dimensional earthly experience. And then the Holy Spirit piece would be the mind, emotions, that invisible component of your earthly experience that gives you access to higher dimensions. I also said that there's a Holy Trinity, that the Holy Trinity part of this was important to understand, especially as it relates to the emotion and the mind, because basically your mental and emotional components of yourself are like Siamese twins. It's one body, but two separate heads. That means that you can shut down your mind to your emotions, but ultimately they'll become your mental monsters and your physical diseases. In other words, it's not, you can't get out of it because they are connected. They really are connected. So the mind and the emotions must work together in order for you to be mentally and emotionally stable and well. So renewing that mental emotional balance, I made reference to this book, which I didn't have before to show you the cover, but here it is. Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. And she does this really fantastic job. I'll just open up a page and show you what it looks like, where she on one side shows you, here's the physical ailment, here's the disease or the discomfort, and here's what that translates into emotionally, so that you can work on that emotional piece and it really does affect the physical. And so taking on that learning or remembering it, if you do know about Louise Hay, but a lot of times we'll forget. But to know that you can really become more conscious of how your emotions may be contributing to how you are feeling physically, and knowing that you can shift that around. You can shift that around. And then regarding the physical renewal, which I talked about last week, I was talking about let's go beyond just looking and feeling good. And let me share with you two, or I did three aspects of what physical renewal can be about. That first aspect had to do with your physicality, where you do a detox, you get on a new diet, you do some new movement, some new exercises, or a new look, you change your hair, you change your clothes, whatever. So that's a 3D aspect. But then we go a little deeper into that invisible world of quantum physics. So the quantum aspect of your body, and that is about how you communicate with your emotional blocks. Again, commercial for Louise Hay. Back to this, it's a quantum aspect, the correlation between your physical and your emotional health. And then I also talked about the next aspect. I called it your sacred contract aspect, where you grow your consciousness to perceive your body as a loving friend and an ally that is going to send you messages to help you stay in alignment with your higher purpose in life. So again, the body actually becomes a messenger, it becomes a friend. If you're in a job where you're so stressed out and your body is giving you signals, that you want to pay attention to that. I'm sure we've all heard stories about people who drop dead over their desk. In fact, I'm going to forget his name. I know his first name was Harold. He was the first Black mayor of Chicago, and that's how he died in office. He died over at his desk. He was under so much stress. So again, our body can work with us, and we have a sacred contract with the body that we were born in. There is purpose to our physicality, our unique makeup of our body. And it's always, always wanting to help us know what is the right situation, what is the right environment, what's the right relationship for us to be in so that we are aligned with our higher purpose. So your higher purpose and your body are integrally connected. And I gave some examples of Josh Spencer in the last bookstore in LA, had a perfect body, was a great athlete, then lost his ability to walk, and then ends up doing this wonderful bookstore that helps so many people, especially bibliophiles like me, in a time when things have gone so digital. And Amazon, you can, just order stuff. You never have to go into a bookstore. But there is something wonderful about doing that. And Josh has found a way to make that his career, and to again be on purpose. And I gave some of my own personal story about how my hypertension was a blessing because it calmed me down. So anyway, that mind, body, spirit, in terms of self-renewal, I laid out for you some ways and means that you could think about your self-renewal in a little more of a higher conscious way, and not just in a typical way, so that you have something that you could work with and that you could take on. And of course, I gave you personal challenges for each of those. But now I want to jump into this life renewal, because our mind, our body, and our spirit are all part of our life, right? It's all part of our living. And so when we're talking about self-renewal, we really are talking about life renewal. And it's very natural. Again, we are in the spring season. And to me, that's a validation, a very visceral validation, that we naturally move forward in life cyclically in a cycle, right? And that we're moving forward in that cycle. We're evolving. Our life is renewing. Just like, in the springtime when you walk down the street, especially here in Southern California, every day I'm seeing some new flowers that have budded. or some trees that are budding again, some new leaves are coming. It's like, wow, it's like the ground is waking up, the earth is waking up, even though things here are always green to some degree, but there's still kind of a fall. There's trees that lose their leaves, but there are flowers that go away. They come out and they have their time and then they go away, but then they come back and they will be renewed. They will be renewed. They won't be exactly the way they were last year. They will be different. And so it's important for us because we're part of nature. Unfortunately, industrialism really separated us out. We started working in those factories and not getting out in the fresh air like we were when we were farmers. We began to think that we were robots. But the reality is, no, we are, well, even robots are part of nature because the material that we use to make robots all comes from, the universe came off of asteroids. So we really forget that our connection and that we can learn from nature. We can learn from nature what is real for us, what is going on for us. And so, um, it's important to know that you can consciously participate in this natural energetic of renewal of yourself and of your life. In other words, there is never a reason for you to believe that you have to stay stuck in any situation that doesn't serve you, that doesn't support you in the truth of who you are, that is not generative, meaning it doesn't provide you with creative energy and creative opportunities and creative thinking, so that you can contribute your genius to the world. There, again, is never, never, never a reason that you have to stay stuck. Staying stuck is a choice. But when you're feeling stuck, that's the universe saying to you, come on, let's go. Now, because we have these brains that we have compared to what a plant has, when we come to a block, a lot of times we can't see a way out. But I don't know if you've seen these pictures online, but you can find them where you'll see that a plant has found a way to actually break through concrete. Yeah, sometimes they'll break through concrete and come out into the light. Um, it's that kind of a miracle that can happen. And it's important for us to understand that force for growth, for healing, for evolution is always there for us. It's always waiting for us. So, because that's the truth, then we have to ask the question, well, why do we get blocked? Why do we get stuck? Why do we think we have to stay stuck? And my answer to that is about core wounds. Core wounds are the things that happen to us in childhood, and it could have happened to us in utero, even when we were developing, that actually mark us with a situation that creates a belief system that we then begin to live out in our lives. So I'm just going to read you from a list I have of some of the core wounds that we as human beings will experience. And it's important to know that they always, always, always end in some kind of, or bring us some kind of shame or unworthiness. Okay, so core wounds, shame, and unworthiness, that's what they're connected to. So, first one, typical one is abandonment, either physically or emotionally. This can include the death or illness of parents or their unavailability because of divorce, active military service, addiction to drugs or alcohol, etc. That is a core wound, abandonment. Betrayal. Trust is established, then betrayed, includes ambivalence or emotional instability of caretakers, including mental or physical illness of parents. Of course, abuse is core wound, physical, emotional, sexual, ritual. Incest comes under there, emotional, sexual, that lack of appropriate boundaries and behaviors by parents, siblings, other family members, and people in the community. Confinement, imprisonment, control can create core wound. lack of limits or too much freedom, a stolen childhood, like what happens to child actors, caretaking of parents or siblings, being forced to take on adult responsibilities before we're really ready, pampering, spoiling, low expectations, overprotection, danger, lack of safety, guilt, false responsibility, a birth trauma, birth defects, a premature birth can be a core wound. Of course, a rejection by a parent, postpartum depression in a mother, repeated humiliation, criticism, shaming, blaming by parents, caretakers, or significant others. So that's to give you an idea about what core wounds are. Um, and this information I'm reading you comes from a book by a man named Paul Farini, and he wrote a book called "A New Embracing Our True Self: A New Paradigm Approach to Healing Our Wounds." And I'll post that in the box below, along with the personal challenge here on YouTube, and also post it on my Facebook page. Um, so these core wounds are just really um, very powerful to us because they create a belief system that is about shame and unworthiness. So here are um, some of the negative statements that a core wound belief will carry from any of those things that I talked about. Nothing I do is good enough. I'm a bad, evil person, or I wouldn't have been abused. I'm not unworthy. I'm not worthy. I'm unworthy. I don't deserve to breathe the air. I'm a failure. I'll never amount to anything. I'm stupid. Others are smarter than I am. I have to be smarter than others in order to be loved. I'm unattractive. I'm weak. I'm sickly. I'm unlikable, awkward, foolish, clumsy. I'm unlovable. The world is not a safe place. If I'm not careful, I'll be hurt. I show up for others, but nobody shows up for me. Love is too scary. I'm better off alone. I can't do it by myself. I need someone to do it for me. I have to do it by myself. No one else can help me. My needs don't matter. I have to take care of others, mommy, daddy, my siblings. Whatever I do, it won't be enough. When I trust the universe or God, I get smashed. If I stand up for myself, I won't be loved. And of course, it can go on and on from there. But that's just to give you an example about how when we have our core wound and we're living those belief systems, getting unstuck from a situation is not simple. It's not easy. Even though, as I said, there's this natural force of the universe for renewal, for growth, for healing, for learning, you know, even though that's there. Now, here's the good news. The good news is that everybody, every human is born into or with a core wound. And we even inherit other ones. Okay. So, our greatest purpose in life is to consciously take on healing those wounds. In fact, your life has been uniquely framed to give you unlimited opportunities to heal, grow, and evolve. So, in other words, it's no accident that you have a core wound. It's no accident that you start off with a belief system that says there's something wrong with me, I'm not enough, I'm disposable. That is, in fact, a very natural part of our existence. Now, some people's core wounds are going to be greater than others, but it doesn't matter. We're all dealing with that negativity that came out of that. So the reason that's a good news is because then you don't need to feel like you're alone or there's something bad or wrong about you. Because I'm telling you, everybody's got a core wound. And, one of the things that I think is appealing to people about these shows that talk about the royal family, like there's a show on Netflix about the Queen. I think what's appealing is to be able to see that despite all the wealth, all the attention, all the, I'm in direct communication with God because I'm the queen, I'm the king, or I'm the consort, whatever, that these folks have core wounds that are affecting their decisions in life, their experience of life, that despite the money, despite the power, despite the celebrity, um, right? They're not happy and they're dealing with unhappiness, they're dealing with challenges. And so it's really, really important for us to understand that because for a very long time before you had Netflix, the internet, people didn't really get to see into the lives of people that they saw as famous or rich and powerful. They didn't know that these people were also struggling with the core wound and also not healing it, not taking it on to heal it. So I'm going to give you and tell you the story of Helen Keller because I think it is a wonderful example of how your core wound can become your greatest gift, because that's the other good news in this. You weren't given this core wound so that you could suffer and struggle in life. Your sacred contract was to have this core wound and to have this negativity so that you could live your life moving beyond it, to get it to be just an obligatory event that helps to shape your purpose and your contribution to life. And this is what Helen is an example of. So Helen Adams Keller, she was born healthy. A lot of people don't know this, in Alabama on June 27th, 1880. At the age of 19 months, she became deaf and blind as a result of an unknown illness, probably rubella or scarlet fever. So she wasn't born that way. Helen actually got that way. So for 19 months, more than a year, she was hearing, she was seeing, she was, talking, or at least, using her voice, making sounds, Um, and then it all was taken away. It was all taken away, like bam, shut down, right? You talk about abandonment, whoo, deep, deep abandonment because she could not connect with the outside world now. She didn't know how to do that. Um, so she becomes like really wild, unruly, of course, because she's got all this rage, right? Like if you were starting out, you can hear and see, and all of a sudden you can't. Like that's like, so there was an iconic stage play and film called The Miracle Worker that, of course, tells this powerful story of Helen's first teacher, Annie Sullivan, who within a month after she meets up with the Keller family and starts working with Helen, that she's able to teach Helen how to connect to the world outside of her. And it's just, of course, a beautiful story. Most people know it. So from a very early age, Helen was determined to go to college. She's very bright. And in 1898, she entered the Cambridge School for Young Ladies to prepare for Radcliffe College in New York. And she entered Radcliffe in the fall of 1900 and received a Bachelor's of Art degree, cum laude, in 1904. She was the first deaf-blind person to do that. Now, while still a student at Radcliffe, she began her writing career, and this continued throughout her life. In 1903, her autobiography, The Story of My Life, was published. Her archives contain 475 speeches and essays that she wrote on topics such as faith, blindness prevention, birth control, the rise of fascism in Europe, and atomic energy. She used a Braille typewriter, and then she would get it copied onto a regular typewriter. From an early age, she championed the rights of the underdog and used her skills as a writer to speak truth to power. She was a pacifist. She protested, the U.S. involvement in World War I. She was a committed socialist. She took up the cause of workers' rights. She was a tireless advocate, it says, for women's suffrage and an early member of the American Civil Liberties Union. Her ideals found their purest and most lasting expression from her work with the American Foundation for the Blind. So she worked with them for like over 40 years. And this, of course, gave her an international platform. See, when Helen was born in 1880, it was still a time when people were living under very, very big superstitions that, when something like that happened, it was because there was something morally wrong with that person, something morally wrong with the family. And so people who couldn't hear and couldn't speak were considered stupid. They were considered dumb, and like animals almost. The people would treat them like animals because, of course, they couldn't connect with them, right? And so what Helen is able to do is to just erase all of that belief system. Or people thought they didn't have a soul, and she just erased all that because, as you heard, she went to college and graduated and became a writer, and she's writing on all these important subjects of the times. And, she's this advocate and, suffragette and, just amazing. So it's really, really important to know that. She also was a celebrity, because everybody who was somebody wanted to meet Helen Keller. Like, she was like, oh yeah, I got to meet her, So she ended up also having friendships and acquaintances, like with the Roosevelts, with Eleanor Roosevelt, Albert Einstein, Will Rogers, Charlie Chaplin, Andrew Carnegie and Henry Ford, amazing. And she met every US president from Grover Cleveland to John F. Kennedy. So I think it was like 5 presidents that she met. It's just like amazing, right? She was honored around the globe and given many awards. She got honorary degrees from Temple University and Harvard, from Glasgow in Scotland and Berlin, and even from India, because she met Nehru and he was taken with her, they give her honorary degree from India, she even got one from South Africa. And she also got an Academy Award in 1955 for the inspiration of the documentary on her life, the Helen Keller story. Helen died in 1968, a few short weeks after her 88th birthday. Her ashes were placed in the Washington Chapel. The chapel, it's called Joseph Chapel in the Washington Cathedral, along with Annie Sullivan and Polly Thompson, who came after Annie to be a support and a help to her. So there you have it. Helen was able to make her greatest wound her greatest gift. And she's just a fantastic example of the truth of that for us as human beings. And as you know, I just love, love, love that story. Well, I have come to the end of this broadcast. And I want to start off by doing my thank yous to my wonderful, wonderful engineer, Miss Yvette Parker of Black Hole Radio, and to all the Black Hole Radio Be Well family members. Thank you, thank you, thank you for, again, your continued support. I also want to insert here about the personal challenge for tonight, which I will put in the box below and also post on my Wisdom Walk Facebook page. But basically, the challenge is going to is to look at where in your life are you stuck? Is it a relationship? Is it a job? Is it a situation? Where are you stuck right now? And then what I'd like you to do is to look at what you need to renew, mind, body, and spirit, so that you can move forward, so that you can make that choice to move forward. I want you to also think about your core wound. How might that be a barrier to you moving forward? If you're in a relationship that's not working, for example, You may have that fear of being abandoned or being left or being alone. And so you're willing to put up with things that normally, if you didn't have that core wound, you probably wouldn't. So again, to really do that kind of contemplation, really think about that. Like, where are you stuck? And how are you going to renew yourself so that you can be back into alignment with the truth of the universe, which is we are here to grow, to heal, and to evolve. So, shout out to all my regular listeners out there, to my number one fan, Miss Sarah. Oh my God, she just blows me away in terms of her ability to do her work and to stay emotionally intelligent to life and to love very deeply and very wholly with her heart. Thank you, Miss Sarah, for being such a wonderful, wonderful role model that we're always going to be renewing. It's never going to be done. Never going to be done. To all those who have wisdom walk with me, and you know who you are, to my family, my spiritual kin, my transformational leadership colleagues, my medicine brothers and sisters around the world, and those who may be listening or looking in for the first time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I couldn't do this without you. Now, next week, April is the first mineral month of a mineral year, and that's all about remembering purpose, being connected. And my theme is going to be about core wounds, their purpose, more about their purpose, and also how to take on healing from our core wounds. Again, don't forget my Wisdom Walk Radio page on Facebook. And of course, my YouTube channel is Wisdom Walk to Self Mastery. And last but not least, I would like to thank my God, my ancestors, my spirit guides, my loving entities, everything that walks with me, keeps my head to the sky, my feet to the ground, and my heart open to do this important work with and for all of you. Have a wonderful fire week coming up. Remember the ancestors and to be in your truth. And most importantly, please remember, despite your core wound, you are not disposable. You are divine. Good night now.